Can you do it with just the?
No, with the one terminal, absolutely. They have a little routine that they do where one goes and asks for the driver's license
okay.
while the other one's typing in the system or answering the phone while someone's processing a guest.
Okay, so terminals are not an issue?
No.
Okay.
So if we were to put a third person on, that would free up the rover, is that it?
Correct.
I think for season,
Yeah.
it's definitely worth considering.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always
We
had.
want to do it starting like now?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think so. I would think so.
January, February, March.
Yeah, well.
Any succeeding years.
Half of January, February, and
Yeah.
March.
And how do we do this with our budget?
And do we have to go back to the board?
No, it's not 10,000.
Yeah,
This would be 90-some $100.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It sounds to me that it's not gonna be $10,000.
No, it wouldn't be.
Yep.
It would be
Chris?
less than 9, for sure.
Right, it would be like
I
8,000.
assume you could approve if we expended about $8,000 extra?
Issue a purchase order.
Okay.
Okay.
Do
I'll
I
make a
have
motion, we so do.
Well, why don't-
Or Nancy make a motion.
I mean,
Yeah, well, I make a motion that we, for the remainder of season, January, February, March, that we hire an individual to assist at the gate during the peak hours of 7 to 3.
Yep. A second to that?
sure, I'll second it.
Ron seconds it. Any more further discussion?
Nope, and it should be every year,
Huh?
and every year.
Well,
going
I think
forward.
we
We'll
need,
put it in
we
the
need to
budget
look at
next
the
year.
situation as
Yeah.
it comes around.
Okay.
We may
Yeah.
even want to extend it a month or so, either way.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see what the
Okay,
numbers look like.
But we
I
have
guess,
time to-
actually, when we look at the Securitas contract, and I don't know when that comes up, huh? But it doesn't matter. When it does.
But incorporate this feature
That
in
ought to
it.
be a consideration in the
Sure.
Securitas contract.
Okay.
But
Okay.
outside of that, we can just add it to the budget next year.
Yes,
When I
right.
do the budget.
It's like we do in landscaping.
Yeah,
We cut more often when its grass is growing, and we drop it off when it isn't.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Don't hear any.
We're rolling.
That's, no. Enforcement of rules, this is something that I added, and I would just like to really get Ryan's input. The whole issue of enforcing rules, and it not only touches security and safety, but it touches landscaping rules, anything in the community. We don't really have enforcement powers per se. We can't arrest people. The only people who have enforcement powers dealing in here are the police. On the other hand, I guess the question I would have is are there things that the guards or particularly the roving patrol can do to, I don't know, warn or admonish people who they see breaking some of the rules? And that was really kind of the question, because we are going to be coming up, for example, we are proposing new golf cart rules. Well, we have old golf cart rules. I don't know how those were enforced. I'm not sure how the new ones will be enforced. But at least we ought to be thinking about, are there things, Ryan, the guards, do they have any ability or power to do that?
The primary function of the access control staff or
Yeah.
patrol staff is observe and report.
Mhm.
That's primarily what they do. What we've done at other properties is when someone is on patrol, they're able to, if they observe an infraction, report it back. And then it's up to management or committee, whoever, to follow up with the enforcement, if you will, of that.
Mhm.
We already do a street lighting report weekly that we turn in to get that done for maintenance. If there's something specific that you're looking for, we can sort of look at it. I know they do signage on the weekends, they do parking violations now and that kind of thing, so there's a lot that they're already reporting to Jason and his team for.
Jason, when you get a parking violation, does an email go anywhere?
What do you do with it?
What do you do with it?
Does anything happen?
No, actually, with the parking violations, what they do is they put a notice on the vehicle.
Oh, they do put a notice on
Okay.
it.
I haven't seen
A
them.
reminder type of thing, then,
See, this is something we talked about a few months ago at the meeting, and I walk early in the morning, and I see cars out there where they're not supposed to be parked all the time. There is never a notice on those cars, never. I haven't seen one in 3 years. seriously. And I used to see them all the time, because I walk at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. And those cars, you can tell they've been there all night because there's dew on them or whatever. Haven't seen a notice in at least 3 years.
Now, when the guards complete a tour per shift, they do it on their Vision product that we have for them. It does store all of that information. So it's, when I review them, I do see them reporting, U-Hauls, trailers, that kind of thing. Of course, we'll send it, specific emails when necessary.
But they're reporting it on your report, but they're not stopping and putting the little note on the card like they used to do that says, there's no parking on the street between
Okay.
these hours.
I will make sure that they are putting the notices on the vehicle if they are not, but I do know that they are reporting it, at least that there's an
And
infraction.
the reporting doesn't mean much to us at all. I mean, when you get the report, you don't know who it was. And just like the golf carts going down the sidewalk, they can report it to us, but what good does that do us? Because once we get the report, well, who was it in the golf cart? We don't know.
Mhm.
What can we do with
Well,
that
and,
information?
It's a problem. I think
Yeah.
that in most cases, or in many cases, if you tell people, hey, you're not supposed to be doing this, a lot of people will respond, a lot won't.
Mhm.
Sure.
I know I have, on occasion, when I've seen a 10-year-old driving a golf cart, I've stopped the golf cart and say, hey, he's not allowed to be doing that.
It's a real safety issue.
And the parent or the adult in the golf cart usually respond, and nobody has tried to punch me in the nose.
Nobody's hit you yet.
Right, exactly.
It's always that first time.
And they usually respond, they're kind of embarrassed. And they respond and they move the kid over and an adult takes the wheel. So people, to a certain degree will respond. But, it's a very difficult issue.
And then we have Jim Rapp.
Well, you get into.
There are exceptions.
Oh, there are exceptions, and there are,
Well, another thing that they could be doing is like people fishing in unauthorized area behind residents' homes.
Mhm.
We all know that's wrong, but yet it still goes on all the time. And I don't know if the resident that wants to go out and confront the fisherman or call security, there's really.
That's difficult for security to even see.
Yeah, they can't.
No, I said,
Behind
should the
somebody's
resident
house.
call security and
Well,
would they be the
certainly
one?
could.
But I do think you have to have the guard or the rover put these notices on.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
are
good.
all these vehicles registered with a license plate? Would we know whose they are?
Yes, we should know who all the vehicles are registered to
All right,
when they've come
and is that in your report?
through. It is.
So if
If we see a
Recurrence.
Or-
a recurrence, an email could be sent out, or get the police in to give a violation. Is that a violation of the police?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And that could be part of the notice now. You are on notice, maybe it has to be reworded, that if it's a second time, we will authorize the police to come in and give you a ticket.
Well, the roving patrol won't know whether it's a second time, that's.
No.
Well,
but
that's where Jason
That's
comes
where
in.
Jason will
Or
come in.
whoever's
So
reviewing the
It would be
database.
part of that notice. If this is a reoccurring issue, we can authorize the police to come in and give you a ticket.
Mhm. Okay.
We can definitely, I'll make sure that I follow up with the staff to make sure they're putting those notices on those vehicles
Okay.
daily, so we can do that, and I'm happy to make sure
Ryan,
they put that
if,
in reports.
if a homeowner were to report to the guardhouse that there's somebody fishing on their property where they shouldn't be, now you're gonna establish fishing areas, as I understand it.
We have,
Oh,
and
yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
put more in, but we're talking about the people that ignore that.
Yes, right. Would it be appropriate for the guards to go down and say, hey, this is not a fishing area?
Yes, they can do that.
They
and
can do that.
They have in the past as well.
Have they?
Someone's
Okay.
called when they're trespassing
Okay.
on their
All right.
personal property.
Okay.
We don't need them to be in confrontational situations.
I agree.
Just- Yeah, just
I agree.
informational.
Yeah.
But
And
that.
hope that 90%
Yes,
of the people
yes,
will.
and I think that's what you do. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think you confront people, you just say,
Yeah.
okay.
So could they do the same thing when they see a golf court on the sidewalk? Just say, just for your information, carts should be out on the road, not on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
What would be helpful is if we can be given a list of maybe some specific rules that you would like when patrol is out and about to look for.
Okay.
I can include that in their checklist, and that way, if these are the top 5 or 6 items, we can highlight that and make sure that they're looking for those specifically. That'd be, I think, a little more helpful than a large book of, a lot of different rules for them to try to.
Very good.
Concentrate on the highest
A very good idea.
violations and
Yeah.
Okay.
try to curb them.
I agree, that would be good.
I would agree. I would ask the committee members to email me with their thoughts about what those things ought to be. I will also work with the SSWG to develop areas.
Okay.
We know of two now, fishing and overnight parking.
In riding bikes and golf carts on the
And
sidewalks.
golf carts on the sidewalks.
Yeah, I've seen a lot more bikes on the sidewalk.
I
now,
have too. More, it seems like it's picking up.
It is
I'm seeing
picking
more and
up,
more. of
Because
it.
the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
All right, anything further on that? Okay. Thank you, Jason and Ryan.
I have another
Oh,
question
I'm
for
sorry.
Ryan.
Sure, I'm sorry.
One of the things that came up at the president's meeting this morning was the noise
Oh, yeah.
ordinance. And it was brought up that part of that could be equipment, that the construction people are in here early working.
Mhm.
And I know they are in here early. I've been back in Prado sometimes at 6:15 in the morning, and there's loud construction noise. Why are they letting those vehicles in prior to 7 o'clock? That was always the rule before, I understood. They couldn't come in till 7.
That is correct.
My understanding is the construction gate will start allowing the traffic through just before 7 to allow them to get to the job site at 7 o'clock to start their normal work at 7 o'clock.
6:15 is a lot more
If
than just
if
a
we're
few
doing
minutes
that, there
before.
won't be an issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
Then what I'll-
obviously, somebody isn't doing that.
yeah.
Then I will
In
make sure
fact, I
that
took a
they're
picture of
holding them
one
at the
truck.
gate until 7.
Yeah.
Their gate, not the backside gate coming off Gateway, which is.
Well, that's what we're talking.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what you're talking about.
Construction gate.
We're talking about the
But I
construction
had
gate.
sent Jason an email, this was a couple months ago. I was walking on Cypress Grove at around 6 in the morning, and here comes a construction truck delivering stuff back to Cypress Grove. Came in through the front gate around 6 in the morning, right down Cypress Grove, never stopped at a stop sign, down to the construction area, dumped off the stuff he was delivering, and left again. And he was noisy, and they let him in the front gate at 6 in the morning.
Did you happen to note what company that was?
I think I sent you the name.
I think the
I sent him
important,
the
the
name.
important thing, yeah, is not so much the company, but reporting that to Castle so that they know that the guards
Yeah.
let
Which
that.
she did, and I shared.
I did, I
with
sent
Ryan.
him an
Okay.
email.
Okay.
I tried to get in fact, when I was in Cypress Grove, I tried to get a picture, it was coming towards me on the street. And I took a picture, but I thought I had video on, because I wanted to hear the noise too, because
Yeah.
it was so noisy. But I had it on picture, not on video.
We discovered at the president's meeting this morning that between, is it 10 and 7, when the quote, quiet time is, sound is not supposed to be above 55 decibels, and during regular time, it's not supposed to be above 66 decibels.
And that's a Lee County ordinance, not a Pelican Reserve ordinance.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
So,
And
you
I have
get
one
out
last
there with
question.
I was gonna say, the wild pigs are noisier than that
Yeah.
at night.
Okay.
They are.
Here's my last question for you. I know a few months back, we approved opening the exit gates during business hours, but unfortunately, I see them open when it's still dark out in the morning, the
Oh, okay.
exit gates. And that was my understanding, and to me, that's when we want them closed, because we had even talked last year about having people have to identify who they were going out to
Yeah.
prevent thefts, and.
I thought we even discussed that to say after a certain time,
Yeah.
they were supposed to record that.
And we decided not to. We talked about it, we decided not to, I thought. But anyway, on Sunday mornings especially, I walk out of the community at about 6 in the morning, and those gates are open probably half the time.
Okay, then I can definitely go back for the
Yeah.
staff and remind them that they need to
That-
be closed on the
And
weekends
I
and
thought we
after
had,
hours.
I thought we had restricted that to Monday through Friday business
Yeah.
hours
Yeah.
originally.
did.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I should just stay in bed and not get out there early in the morning.
I
Again-
think you should recruit all the early morning walkers to do everything you're
Again,
doing.
as I told the presidents this morning, and we get reports all the time of things that are being done that appear that the guards are not doing exactly what they should be doing. And in order to help get that discipline in, I suggested that people need to report when they see something, where they saw it and what time they saw it, and report it to Castle so that we can capture that information and we can admonish the guards about what they should or should not be doing.
Further train them.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, any further questions of Ryan or Jason?
I'll leave you alone now.
Okay, if not, we will move on to Cypress Grove conveyance issues. We are underway, are under pressure from WCI to approve the conveyance of large tracts of Cypress Grove. We are attempting to have the P-PAC objections to some of the things that are being done, some of the, or our discovery of some of the deficiencies in that particular issue, put on the table. Chris, one of the questions I have of you, are there any coming up at this next?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
I think
It's everything's
Friday.
February 1st meeting.
Yes, sir, and Friday, tomorrow morning, they're gonna be having a walkthrough.
Yes, okay. So the people, there's a walkthrough tomorrow, which Bob is gonna participate in, and Joe is gonna participate in. Joe, you put in a request to address the committee. Would you like to, I assume it's on this issue,
Yes.
and would you like to do so now?
Sure.
Please introduce yourself there.
Joe Schofield, Karina, forgive my voice, I've been fighting it. Chest congestion, just doesn't go away. But, yeah, I went back out through the neighborhood, and Karina specifically, and just kind of checked my notes that I did back in July. I've also tried to catch up with Jan, but I haven't received anything from her or anybody else that was on that committee that she put together. So all I have is data on Karina, Matarita Drive, and Severino, which another fellow worked on. But I've sure got samples of concrete, and they're not the only ones. And they're just lying there. It's horrible. But I'd like to just, if you have the time, I'd like to read something I put together, because it just hits some points I think that are important. And rather than going off of my memory, I'd rather do this. And basically what I'm stating is there's numerous cracks in the street gutters, and as documented by the volunteer group that went through and submitted their information. I took a drive through some of the older sections of Karina, or of Pelican Preserve, because I thought I ought to be fair to everybody and see what they look like. And I must state that my quick drive-through observation was the concrete in these older communities is in good shape. Why is it so bad in our community? I have a theory on that, but that's just a theory. There are several areas where the gutters are broken, cracked, and missing chunks of concrete. The same issue appears in the sidewalks at the intersection of Julia and Vitale Way. There are also holes left from pieces of wood that have rotted out of the sidewalks in a few areas of Karina. On Matarita, there's a section of sidewalk that's about a ½ an inch higher than the adjoining section, which is obviously a place somebody's going to trip and fall, which is a lawsuit to happen. I think the process for that is ugly, but they just grind it down, so you got a ground. But that fixes the problem. That would be acceptable. And I think we need to have some give and take in this whole thing also. Some of these cracks that I've found that bother people that have called me and pointed them out, I think you have to accept some normal wear and tear in the construction process. But the circle at the intersection of Cypress Grove Drive, Karina, Casilia, and Prado, that end of Cypress Grove Drive, is an absolute wreck. You can't walk 5 or 6 feet without having a crack or a piece of concrete missing from it. By far, it's the worst area that I've inspected anywhere. The entire length of Cypress Grove Drive and that circle, from the circle to the Matarita-Karina intersection, has many cracks, and there's lots of landscaping issues. And I want to make a comment. At the GS CDD meeting the other day, WCI presented that they've spent a lot of money on shrubbery, overplanted that whole section to make it look nice, and that was a benefit to Pelican Preserve, and they spent their own money without asking us. And I would like to point out the fact that that's the road they drive every prospective buyer on, to go to the new section to look at a house. They didn't do that, to my thinking, for our benefit. They did it for their sales and marketing benefit. And it'd be interesting to see where that expense comes out in their accounting. Is it marketing? I don't know. But that wasn't done for us. That was done because they're trying to make a nice presentation to prospective buyers. So I don't quite buy that comment. It was a nice one, but I think it's frivolous. There also seems to be, and this is a Joe Schofield thing. Being an engineer, I have this inquisitive thing and things just pop into my brain. But I started looking at streetlights in Carina, and I realized there's no consistency. The old section starts out with streetlights every so many houses, and it starts extending as you drive through. So I counted the number of streetlights. There's got to be some sort of a code on that. Then I went through some of the older sections and counted streetlights, and there's no consistency. But in Carina, we have 22 streetlights for 192 or 196 houses. Some communities have 10 streetlights for 25 houses. So I think that, again, there's an infrastructure issue. I don't know who's responsible for it, but I'm going to get to the point here where I'll get back to that. But that's a point that I just thought there's some inconsistency throughout this whole thing. Concerning the damage to the concrete and some wear and tear is to be expected, as I've stated. There are sections where there's little or no damage, and then there's sections that seem to have an excessive amount of damage. Now, concrete was poured at different times throughout the whole construction site. The question that I come up with is maybe it all wasn't the same consistency, the weather wasn't the same, the humidity wasn't the same, the moisture wasn't the same, it wasn't treated in a proper manner or in a timely manner, which all has an effect on the concrete. Lots of variables in concrete, including the ratings. I think WCI should be providing information to the GSCDD engineering data. They should be able to supply certified, professionally engineered documents. And a professional engineer that certifies a document is legally accountable and can go to jail, quite frankly, if they lie on those documents. We should have some proof positive that they've met the specs as spelled out by the city and perhaps the state. We should also have documents that state that the roads were built in accordance with the proper design criteria as spelled by the city or the state, particularly the radiuses for the circles. And they stated in the past, it's a public road, that road was designed for construction traffic. But it's construction traffic around that one circle that's horrible. But giving them the benefit of the doubt, I went over to some other sites where there's construction in Pelican Preserve with circles. Different design, no damage. Now, my mind says, why? That's up for the engineers to determine. But if you go over to one of the older sections, and I have the name here, Viadana, those circles are different. Circles are painted. I don't know why the traffic can get around that, but there's heavy-duty construction trucks in that area also. Those circles are perfect. So again, I question the concrete and the design that's in the Cypress Grove, or the Cypress Grove Drive area. I'm recommending that we should have an engineer go out. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We should get some core samples. I talked with a fellow that Phil had given me his name. He has a background in heavy duty construction and concrete. We toured the neighborhood, and his comment was we need to get back to the original specs, and we should have core samples, and we should do some independent testing. That's going to cost money. But we're talking about millions of dollars of infrastructure being transferred based on what lawyers are talking about and some documents that say, hey, we did everything right, trust us. Without the proof, and in the engineering business, I can tell you, professionally engineered documented statements are required in a lot of jobs. We should have that confirmation. We should have that confidence that they're giving us something and not just telling us they're giving it to us. We should have proof positive that that's where we're going. The last thing I want to state is that concrete comes in a variety of ratings. Concrete is designed for compression loading. That would be trucks riding over it, going on roads. Driveways, slabs are typically built to a 3,000 PSI concrete rating. The general concrete rating for heavier duty construction type stuff, including roads, would have a PSI rating of about 7,000 PSI. So if they're using the same concrete mixture for the roads that they've been using for houses, then I think we have a very serious problem. I think much more time and energy needs to be devoted professionally to see what we've got. And I think we should make those folks, WCI, prove that they've actually met the specs. And that's really enough for me at this moment.
Thank you, Joe. Joe has done a yeoman's job on detailing a lot of the problems. And I think he will be at this meeting where they start to consider some of these conveyance issues, but they're out there. And unfortunately, if we can't get WCI and Lennar to do something about some of these deficiencies, we're going to end up picking up the tab. It's going to cost people in Pelican Preserve 002 money.
All right, Joe, you made some great points. It's not that expensive to do a core sample and do a quick PSI. It's done all the time. And the concrete had to be tested because they have to take, after so many trucks, samples of the concrete with PSI data from the concrete that was delivered.
Right.
Chris, I don't know who would be involved, but it is very easy to do it, and it's not that expensive to do. If the one spec is just the PSI, but as you're right, there are a lot of others, it's a quick test.
The other thing I didn't
Joe,
mention is the underlying
Joe, what?
payment.
If you're gonna speak, you gotta come
Speak,
up.
you gotta come, you gotta, why don't you stay at the podium?
I should have also mentioned it's how they prepared the road before they poured
Absolutely.
everything. And I can tell you, on my street, I had a hole in the road, and I presented it to many different people to fix. Nobody ever fixed it. My neighbor poured a slab in his backyard. They had extra concrete. I filled the hole myself. Before they put the final top coat on, I went out with a sledgehammer to knock that out so they would prepare it properly. I couldn't get a powder of dust coming out of my sledgehammer. So they paved over it. But I can tell you there was no underlying on that road. It looked like they just leveled the sand, put the first coat on, maybe there's a little gravel, but I didn't notice any real hardcore
That's
preparation
also
under
a
that
set
road.
specification when you do a road. You have to have a thickness of the
Absolutely.
You have to
I
have
mean,
a
there's
thickness.
definite
It's
engineering
set.
criteria for all that, and I really seriously question, and I think we really need to do a very thorough inspection of those roads and the concrete, because, man, the destruction at that circle in 2 years versus the destruction in other areas doesn't fit. 1 and 1 doesn't equal 2 in my mind. So
We have the right to request the data from WCI, without a doubt.
They
Yeah,
should
but
prove to you that they've done the right job.
Bob?
Okay, the board heard the same presentation. The outcome for us, for the community, is the formation of this group that's going out tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to look at it. Tetra Tech will be a part of it, the district's going to be a part of it, we're going to be a part of it. We're trying to differentiate between aesthetic items,
Yeah.
minor cracks, other things, versus real construction problems. That's the purpose of the meeting. The board heard the concerns, because they're not on a punch list. They missed the timetable for being part of our criteria manual and all that other kind of stuff. So we're at a zero receptivity right now from Lennar to fix these issues. So we're trying to develop a position that the board can support whatever it is that we're looking for.
Yeah.
And it has to be non-emotional, it's got to be data-driven, it's got to be real problems, so that's the way we're going to go out. I keep hearing about landscape issues, and we need to put this one to bed once and for all, because the landscape that was installed was far greater than a minimum requirement. And we can argue we'd like to have it set back to that standard, but we'll never win that. It all meets the minimums. Is it less than it was? Absolutely. We are not gonna be able to make them do it. Just eat it up. It's just the way it is. If we want it back, we gotta pay for it. So we gotta take the landscape out of it, stay with environmental issues, and make sure that we're doing it based on judgments and facts and engineering judgments, not the aesthetics. So let us go and do the report and see what we get, and we'll come
Yeah,
back. And
I agree, Bob, and Bob mentioned the major problem we were gonna run into of the things that Joe mentioned is they're not in the criteria manual, and so as a result, they're not on the punch list. And so Tetra Tech has completed the punch list, and most of these are good.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, the lesson learned for the community is change the criteria manual.
yeah,
And we may do that. That may be the outcome. And we've been doing this all along from a pond's point of view. And then the manual's kept up with us, and they've done a great job of that. We need to do it from these other perspectives too. Won't help Pelican, but it might help other gateway communities.
yeah.
I'd like to make one suggestion regarding your inspection. Based on his comments, Tetra Tech should verify, and they should agree.
They will be asked for
that
that
it is
tomorrow.
very easy to do a core sample
I've got
and
that
do an
note. I'll make sure
analysis.
that's done.
and as an ASTM spec for how many core samples you have to do, and all you do is you do the core sample, you do the PSI, and they can take a core all the way through to the base. They don't have to just do the concrete.
We're gonna do that, John.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
The other thing is he has a book with many, many photos. We're gonna look at every one of them.
yeah,
We're gonna go down that entire book.
yeah.
We'll do it thoroughly, we'll do it professionally, and it'll be done right. And I will ask for the core samples. That'll be part of the criteria. Yeah, Chris.
Go ahead,
I
Chris.
was gonna mention this here, but one thing that's different about that permit criteria manual is the front end of it says the district will inspect landscaping. On the back end, there's no, inspect,
Yeah.
but not accept.
Right.
And Tony's position's always been the landscaping's part of a right-of-way. And Tyler, when we asked him at the meeting, he goes, we've never inspected landscaping, even though it's in the permit criteria manual. I don't
Yeah.
have an answer for you. And also,
Well, I know we inspect, just to add on, when Gary Neubauer was a member of the board, I participated in walkthroughs, and we looked at landscaping.
Yeah.
And when it was deficient, that part of it at least was supposed to be repaired. But we're going back 2 years ago. We haven't done it methodically. And even then, WCI did a lot of things for us that they didn't necessarily have to do, but they did. Lennar is a different horse. They ain't gonna do anything they don't have to do.
And we aren't, from the district staff standpoint, planning to participate tomorrow morning because that's an engineering function. And
Well, I didn't know if you were gonna participate in the sense that somebody would be there to watch, that's all.
well, it's more, Tetra Tech's been doing the engineering, they have the PEs for us to go
That's
out there
great.
and say, hey, I'm this, well, you got a PE behind
Well,
it.
that's entirely, if you were invited, if you come, you come, you don't, you don't, right?
And I set it up and made sure,
Okay.
everyone's
Yeah.
gonna be there and the professionals, but yeah, 9
Yep.
o'clock tomorrow, and it'll be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
Before we go off the topic totally, and before I forget, Joe, on those streetlights,
Yes.
FP&L has for every community, and I imagine WCI Lennar also has the specs of exactly where streetlights should be in a community. And that's all planned out ahead of time. When they did Portofino, we wanted an additional streetlight, which we ultimately ended up putting in and paying for. But when FP&L came out to do their inspection, they said, oh, well, but you were supposed to have had another one at this other point. And so we got an additional streetlight because we were deficient of streetlight. So FP&L has the records of where they're supposed to be.
So they can make mistakes.
Yeah,
If
so
you were-
mistakes can be made.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to follow up on what you said too. A year ago, when we were doing the budget, we wanted to know how many streetlights were out there, and I actually went around and counted all the streetlights. And I was amazed at how inconsistent the neighborhoods were. Some places it might be every 3 houses, and then you might go 8. It was just no consistency at all as to where the streetlights were placed. I don't know what they did.
Joe, please.
an observation only. Going through Carina Phase 1, things seem to be in much better shape than they did as you got into Phase 2. Streetlights became less and less as you got into Phase 2. Concrete became worse as you got into Phase 2. WCI was trying to sell. The bottom line was important. I don't know how that influenced the progress through the community, but the house designs changed, door designs changed. Concrete is more of an issue, less lighting. I'm not adding up one and one.
Joe, before you step away, you
Yes.
made a comment, I think, that you did not get the information that Jan put together about.
No, I do not have
Jan-
that.
Jan has emailed to say that she will be sending that information, but we haven't gotten it yet.
No, and I haven't, and
They need it for tomorrow morning as well.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
I think-
Jan is got an email issue where she's staying, she can't communicate apparently very easily.
She also has all sorts of,
Yeah, there's a lot of,
family and
there's a lot
other
of
problems.
complications.
Wasn't some of that information passed on to
Yes. What?
the district?
She sent me
Yep.
some of the photos,
Right.
but not all of them.
Okay, but what you have, do they have it, or Tetra Tech have it?
I have
I don't
nothing.
know if they have
I do not have it.
When she did it, she just sent me some and said.
Yeah, I was going to look at Joe's book. That's specifically what they were addressing.
Yeah, I sent Joe's book over to Tetra Tech.
Well, that's what the
Actually,
board asked us to do.
none of you have a copy of my complete book. You have sections of it.
Right.
It's so much data. I haven't, I mean, I'm share it with anybody. In fact, I could
Well,
ask.
tomorrow, we're gonna go through your whole book.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
I will give you my whole book. It's the only copy I have.
You don't give it to anybody then. You just walk us through it as we go.
Oh, okay. Tomorrow morning, you've got a meeting in our neighborhood?
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
You
What
didn't know
time?
that?
Well, I knew that there was something there, but I didn't know. I
9
was a
o'clock,
part of it.
Casella,
Tomorrow.
I mean, at Prado and Cypress Grove.
I got an
I will
email
be
and you
there.
said you would be there.
Oh, I said I'd be at this meeting. I'm
Oh,
sorry, I
okay.
misunderstood. Actually, I got to tell you, we're fortunate. My wife was supposed to have surgery tomorrow morning. They postponed it. I will be at your walkthrough.
You don't think she'd have been receptive to postponing the surgery?
She did it on purpose so she could keep me busy with this.
One other aside on lighting is that one of the things that we've been requesting, it goes back well over a year, is that a light, an additional light, street light, be placed at the corner of Cypress Grove Drive and Pelican Preserve Boulevard. I think it's something we're probably never going to get from Lennar, but it is a lighting problem there. There's not sufficient light. But that's one of the things we've been asking for a long time.
Mr. Chairman, could we skip to item 11 so we can do the revised traffic study? I'm pretty sure that's why Jane is here. Let's get that one done, so if they don't want to sit for the rest of it.
If we're done with this stuff.
I think we're done with this. I did this only because I thought that the committee ought to have some background.
No, that's okay. I'm
into what we're
all right with
fighting and what we're doing. Okay. At the request of Mr. Geppert, we will move to item 11. You all have received, and I hope you had a chance to review it, and I apologize for getting it to you as tardily as I did, a new proposal with regard to all of the items coming out of the traffic study. The front page, and you should all have copies of it,
Yep.
the cover, and forget about, I'd like to go to the covering letter, which I hope is in here, which is the last thing. It's the last page. Nothing has really changed there. That has recommendations that, or there have been only minor changes to that.
Is that the title, traffic regulation?
Traffic
signage
regulation,
recommendation?
signage recommendations
Got it.
to the Pelican Reserve Advisory Group from Safety and Security Work Group.
Okay.
That's the covering page. That's what we're recommending as arising from the traffic study. What has changed is that, as I think I mentioned in my email to you, we encountered what I would say two major obstacles with regard to the original proposal that we made. And they arose from Tony Pier's legal review, He pointed out some places in the proposal where there were errors. For instance, the most outstanding of them was Johnson Engineering made the statement that you had to have at least 6-foot lanes for golf carts. That is not so. What they did use was that you needed 6-foot lanes where golf carts are being parked, but it doesn't say that you need that on the street. So that was changed. Tony also felt, and I think validly so, that there were a couple of documents that were not referenced in the original proposal, one of which was the letter going back to 2001 that went from Saeed Kazemi, at the time was the city engineer. It went to him from Norman Trebelak of RWA, and talked about, not terribly clearly, we quoted in there, but that it said that there's an undesignated 4-foot shoulder. So we needed to reference that letter, and what that Tony believes, and I think that's valid, that we need to return to the city and get their okay to anything that we want to do with regard to golf cart regulations, and bicycle regulations for that matter. The other thing is that the original proposal did not reference the study that was done by, I'm having trouble coming up with the name, the original study that was used to set up the community, and we have referenced that as well now, and will be a David Plummer Associates study. So that will be attached as an exhibit to this. Actually, the David Plummer study said things that indicate that the golf carts shouldn't be in the 4-foot wide lane. So there's information there. The other problem that we encountered is that there are really 2 sets of rules and regulations. One of which is the original resolution that was passed by the board, which established the community as a golf cart community and set out certain rules for golf carts. Then later, there was a set of regulations issued by the Pelican Preserve Community Association, the Master Association, and those 2 documents were not entirely consistent. In fact, there were some inconsistencies in them. Some of them, there were some things that weren't in one and were in the other, and then vice versa. So we tried to address that by proposing that we have a new set of regulations or rules that encompasses both of those documents, or everything that was in both of those documents. And so the proposed revised Section 1 of the Gateway Community Development District Resolution 210.05 is that combined document. And what we are proposing is that the board, that this committee should recommend to the board that it adopt this new set of combined rules, and that those be put into a new resolution that supersedes the current resolution, so that we can then go to the city and get that approved.
So we're trying to march forward with one clear, effective this date
Exactly,
resolution.
exactly. It would be one resolution, and the resolution would also, they would also have to have an agreement with the Pelican Reserve Community Association for the implementation.
And the city.
And the city.
Everybody
The
would
city,
agree
the
once
city
and
would
for all.
have to agree, and the community association, then there would be an agreement with the community association to implement these.
And when we have those, then we take that to the board?
No, the order, the order in which we think it should be done is to approve the revised regulation, then obtain the
Where,
city's.
here?
Huh?
When you say to approve?
To approve here and then at
Here.
at the board level.
Okay, got it.
After, but by the way, after legal review. I
Okay,
think we have to have a new legal review, if you will.
okay,
So I think what we need to do is, this committee needs to approve the proposed rules.
okay,
We need to have Tony review it again and give us his input.
right,
Then we need to go to the board,
Got
have
it.
them approve it. Then the board needs to go to the city of Fort Myers
got it.
and have their approval. And then they need to issue this revised resolution. And then finally, they have to have an agreement with the Pelican Reserve Community
I
Association.
got it, thank you,
That's the order in which we would propose that that be done.
got it.
So I would now solicit your comments, and Jane, we will get to your comments shortly, but I would like to have any comments from the committee first. Are there any?
I think you did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
In the time you spent in working with Tony and coming up with these new revisions. I have no problem with them. I read them before the meeting.
There was, as a couple of people have pointed out, there was one wording error in there, which is a minor consequence that needs to be corrected in the resolution, in the proposed rules. But other than that, I haven't had any other comments.
I also looked at this before coming to the meeting. And the question I have is, you said it goes back to Tony, you're recommending it go back to Tony from here.
Right.
Does the working group believe it's incorporated to date Tony's input from when you were working?
We believe we have incorporated all of Tony's input, although doubtless, as Tony in his inimitable way will come up with certain things that we haven't quite covered or done. But nonetheless, I think we've certainly addressed his major issues, and hopefully most of what he would have, any objections, any legal objections he would have to what we proposed. There is, as the proposal says, there is no right answer to the issue of where golf carts ought to travel in the community. It's a matter of selecting what we believe to be the safest way to go. And this has been through, Ron, when you were heading the committee.
Oh, yeah.
It was the same.
We've been around this for a couple of years now.
Yeah, yeah.
So it would be nice to bring this to a conclusion,
Let me tell you.
you know?
Yes.
And then, you know,
Yep.
have something
one-
implemented, so it's
one-
clear to the community what they
One-
should or should not be
one
doing.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
Other comments? Jane, would you like to come forward and
Thank you.
give us your comments?
Yeah, this is the 5th time I've been before this board. Moved here in '03, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, and possibly 4 people on your board that came about the same time that I came. And I ask you, why do you want to put the golf carts out in the car truck lane that they're flying by at 35, 40? Is that safety? I mean, all the state requirements, the national requirements say golf carts must be safe. Is it a priority issue? Was it a group of bicycle riders that said, we want it all to ourselves? I know, and I've seen it. In 2015, you had a discussion. It went to, I'm trying to think of the girl's name, and she said, well, we'll just put those icons on that lane. And I found out if we went with our golf carts in that lane, and I found out when I went to the city, and there's an icon in there, and there's an accident, we would be responsible. Well, is that all right with you, Ron? You and I were on the safety committee with Bob Meller. When we walked out of there, 2 policemen said, well, if they're on the car truck lane, we will put them back. Now, that was denied. That was, I have it in my notes, and I'm not gonna argue with you right now. To me, it's not reasonable, but this is my 5th time here. And you can, and I hear, I think, you can want, you can wish, you can do nothing or you can do something, but a law is the law is the law. And I ask you, and I've been listening all afternoon, have you all taken the oath to abide by the Florida statutes? Have you all taken that oath? Raise your hand if you've taken that
I
oath.
don't know that we took an oath.
Never heard
Then-
of it.
Take any oath.
No wonder you don't understand this. The Florida statutes go all through all of the things you talked about. And it is just not fair to people in our community to be making decisions without checking these out on the Florida statutes. I know, I've got about this much. Plus, you know, everything that comes out of here is public information. And I've got your comments, and I've got your comments. Your thinking, it makes no sense to me. Now, you can sit there and say, it's all right for the golf carts to go in the car truck lane. But you had the policemen in here because we have speeders. Does that make sense? Answer me. Well, I'm finding out that you have not read the Florida statutes, and I will proceed to insist that if you're going to continue this and make these decisions, that you have to take that oath. And I'm not a researcher, but I've got all kinds of research. The golf carts will be returned to the safe lane, which will be named and have a signage stating as such. It will be the golf cart bike lane. I will not come to you again. I've spoken my piece. I've heard you. I understand where you're coming from and where you're not coming from. It will be the golf cart bicycle lane. And I will not be here again. I'm not going to CDD 4 more times. You and you will not hear my voice again, because I'm going to put it in the hands of an attorney. I've already talked to an attorney. And when we're going to have 2,500 doors in this community, we already have 500 golf carts. My friends that came when I did, little older than I, 2 of the older people moved out, one of them, and one just passed away. And they deserve to live in here and to be safe. That's my piece, and I'm walking out.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you can be pitiful, but who are the bicycle people that put you onto this?
Can I say something?
Yeah,
I am both a bicyclist and a golf cart driver.
Yes.
I do not feel safe in my golf cart in that narrow lane. I'm out over the edge a little bit so that if a car comes by, I'm in their way. If I have to pass a golf cart, I have to go veer into that lane and then come back into the bicycle lane. I do not feel safe in a golf cart in that lane.
Do you have insurance
I
for your
do.
golf cart?
I do.
If you have an accident in the car truck lane, your insurance will not cover.
Wrong answer.
That's my insurance. I checked it out.
well,
Change your
Um,
Thank you.
insurance.
despite, despite,
And you can laugh, that's all
no, we're
right.
not
laughing
laughing.
at you.
We're not laughing.
Absolutely
We're not
not. Bill
laughing.
said.
I mean, you know, clearly this has become, particularly with Jane, a very emotional issue, and I understand that. As we try to point out in the proposal, and I think it's got to be the board that's got to make this decision, there are, and I think Tony will, Tony will back us up on this, that there are no specific statutes that relate to where golf carts should travel on a road in a community. There's nothing to specifically address this. And so what we're effectively saying is, for our particular community, we ought to do it the way we're suggesting, and that is to have the golf carts travel in the regular traffic.
We paid for an engineering study, we got it,
Yep.
we elect.
And we had an attorney review it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be reviewed some more.
And it will be reviewed some more. So I think we're on strong ground, with what we propose.
I make a proposal, or a motion that we accept the proposal as written.
I'll second that. Nancy.
Bob, I'd like you to add to your, yeah, okay, yeah, I think that'll cover it. Is there any further discussion?
The only thing I'd like to say is that original DRI that says there has to be bike paths connecting the community, Prado is not connected. There's no bike path going down Prado Boulevard.
Yeah.
So they are not connected at all.
Yeah.
We haven't really accepted you people.
I don't live in Prado.
Yeah,
Thank God, I don't want to live in
You
Prado.
know, clearly, WCI did not make
Did not.
provision for that, but this
Right.
at least partially addresses it.
Yeah.
No, even when you go over the bridge on Pelican Reserve
Yeah.
Boulevard, there's no bike
There's
lane
nothing
out
beyond
there.
that.
Yeah, we don't like those people either.
You know, so,
Any other further discussion?
your committee, your subgroup should be congratulated for following through on this and.
The most thankless job we've
And
had.
and
totally agree.
persevering
It's-
on this issue.
What will be
They should
interesting
thanked.
is to see whether we can get the
Well, we're
board
not-
to agree to it.
You're not there yet,
Yeah,
obviously.
right.
And even better, when people are mad, they'll be mad at him and not us.
I agree.
I don't know about that.
It's very well done. You guys did a great
Yes,
job.
you're-
Aye, we all vote, let's vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, it passes 6-0. Okay, we go back,
Item 6.
Item 6 on
Let
the
me have a
agenda.
question on bike lane.
Oh, we're
Right
off.
now- No, just curiosity, isn't the bike lanes only on the four-lane roads?
Yes.
Specifically bike lane model.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
and
so,
if,
when even,
Prado Boulevard is a 4-lane.
it
Correct.
is 4-lane.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Runs along parallel to the flowway.
Yeah.
That piece,
Four lanes.
yes. you're
That one
absolutely
section.
correct. You're absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, it's
So you
just
get
like,
to that-
just like Cypress
that
Grove, but
last
somehow
part.
they just missed it.
So, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
so really, we should include Prado Boulevard in this as well, but, well, I'm not gonna worry about that.
Is it wide enough for a bike lane? Has it been striped and everything already too?
Oh, yeah.
It's been striped, but I don't know about the width. We'd have to go out and measure. But
Okay.
moving right along to item 6.
Moving along, even though he came late, Mr. Gifford keeps pushing us hard. Capital Reserve Study, Ron, you want to tell us?
What happened to
where you
6?
stand? Huh? Well, Cypress Grove
Grove
conveyance
convey. I
issue.
thought we
We
covered
just
that.
did conveyance issue,
That's
we
what
just
Joe
spent a
just
lot
talked
of
about.
time on the conveyance issue.
That was one portion of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have, oh, I thought you were gonna get to it as part of your,
No, that was the Joe Schofield conveyance issues.
Yeah.
We have other conveyance
The
issues.
pond issues must be.
I
Uh,
thought that was gonna be part of your report, but if you'd like to,
Well, no, this one is not,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, there was a meeting on the 9th. Mike was there, Chris was there, Tinkle was there, Tetra Tech was there, L, and myself. And the district had done a yeoman's staff of going through all of the conveyance issues, not only for Pelican, but Gateway. Came up with, it was a 13-page report or something. Some of the items are very, very easy and we're in full accord. They cover bill of sale, deeds, permits. It's
the
a
legal
whole,
stuff.
a whole ball of wax. So what was agreed coming out of that meeting was that L and Tetra Tech are going to get together and merge the two knowledge bases to come up with a comprehensive, hopefully short list of those areas where the district, has problems with the conveyance of parcels from WCI to us for maintenance. Because there's some cases where things are omitted that are serious, that need to be there, like, what were they, surveys, easements, things like that. Some are significant, some are kind of minor stuff. But anyway, that is an ongoing issue, and I just want to make you guys all aware. Ponds, at this point in time, has no issues on conveyance, but there are items of conveyance concern for P-PAC. So,
Okay, thank you, sir.
okay. If I go to a meeting, you guys are going to hear about it.
Okay, anything further on conveyance issues? Capital Reserve Study, Ron, you want to fill us in where you
Very
stand?
quickly, the solicitation's out in the street. We expect, the deadline is the 22nd of January, if I recall from your last email. And we'll see where it goes from there.
So will we have something that we can review at our February meeting?
Conceivably.
Should be
Yeah.
in.
A cost
I'm not-
proposal type
I'm not
thing?
sure I'm not sure we'll have the final recommendation by then,
No, we have
because that's like
review and-
within 2 weeks of
Well,
the
I thought,
final thing.
don't we
so.
need to review the RFP and recommend it to?
No, we did already.
Well, the RFP, yes, but
Yeah,
Select
we
the
said
consultant.
okay to put them out on the street.
Right.
But the selection of the consultant, we need to.
Oh, yeah.
Go
I'm gonna
through.
say, I don't know that we'll have that recommendation
Oh, okay.
ready for you guys by the first meeting in February. I don't know. I don't know the answer. It depends on how many people respond, if we have to have meetings with them or not, you
I
know,
see.
back and
Okay.
forth. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it depends.
All right.
And how you want, in some cases, if you have a couple of people that you're interested in, you could request them to come in and make a presentation, a short one at the meeting, you know, where you could ask them some of those pointed questions. But we put the advertisement as legally required in the paper, and we've also been doing direct solicitations to people that do this kind of business, special district services, a couple engineering firms, so just trying to get the word out.
Right. So we know we have at least one.
Yep.
We know we'll have
This
at
is-
least one.
This is very specialized kind of
So,
stuff. There are not
yeah.
a lot of outfits that can do this
Yeah,
kind of work.
there are some in Florida that do it,
Yeah.
you know.
And-
And I've spoken to one of them and.
My concern,
actually,
my concern with
technically.
moving this forward is to get some idea of a problem, addressing the problem before we get into the budget cycle again.
Mhm.
It would
I
be
agree.
very good to be able to get some kind of numbers down before we get into budgeting again, because we are gonna have to make, you know, and we talked about perhaps having not only the capital reserve, but also a maintenance reserve. And so we would need to make those kinds of decisions
I
as we go
agree with
forward.
that,
Yeah.
big time.
And depending on the proposals that we get and the
Yep.
costs,
Yep.
I mean, if the costs are low enough, it could proceed very quickly. If not, we have to go back to the board anyway, and get their approval and get into their cycle.
Would it be possible to- with somebody you feel comfortable with, maybe give us a presentation so that you can get all of our questions to such, for the RFP? God, it would be doing it.
It could be helpful, and even the consultant you select, you know, if you.
Well, I mean, can you,
Oh, yeah, at the very least.
even before you select them, can somebody give a presentation at our February meeting?
All or none.
My nickel's worth is that's what we got them for, the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really want to
Yeah.
sit through it.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like all or none, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
it's
If you haven't made
interesting.
the selection.
The district has a RFP out for an assessment methodology, meaning
Yep. For the-
methodology in Gateway is 25 years old.
Yeah.
And we put it out on the street, same thing, advertised it, we got one response.
Oh, jeez.
So I was like, well, I mean, good guy, we like his work, we use him for the bond methodology, he's used to working in Gateway. I go, well, I want to take it to the board, so I put it out and then pushed it. Sent it to engineering firms, special district services, advertised
And you
it,
got a few
special
more.
districts. Day came, his proposal was the only one that came back.
Wow.
And I didn't know if it wasn't big enough, or the few people that do it are busy, but, so I'm taking that one response back to the board.
Okay.
Whatever we get. Now,
Yeah.
let me make a suggestion.
Yeah.
I think whoever we select should come to the board and make a pitch.
Oh, yeah.
At the very least, but maybe you should send a copy of the solicitation to everybody, so that you guys have an opportunity over the next month
Yeah.
to actually read it at your leisure.
That would be good.
So you at least
Once
know
you
what we
guys
were
select
asked
them,
for.
whatever that committee selects, yes.
Well, I
Yes,
give
sir.
it to you now, and you can read it or
No,
not.
he's saying-
It's up to you.
he's
saying
This is
they're-
what.
But I mean, that's what, it's gonna be your recommendation.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
That's
and
all.
then when
Yeah.
they come, it'll
I'm
be
good.
out based on our recommendation,
I'm good.
of course.
Okay.
So you have something to base it, your questions.
Any further discussion on the capital reserve study? If not, we'll move on to the bond update. Nancy?
Yeah, this has been a busy month.
Yes.
So, thank you, Mr. Geffert, for pushing the issue because you wanted more money, but unfortunately, I don't think that's gonna happen.
That's a shame since I've already spent it, but continue.
Right.
The first conference call I had, I told you guys about, Danny went back to WCI or Dave Caldwell and said, you know, hey, guys, you know, it's been a year, what's going on? And right at the very end of the year, WCI Lennar came back with a full-blown request for both areas that the board had agreed that they were entitled to have some funds from. So we had a conference call last week, I guess it was last week, and last Friday, Chris sent a letter back to WCI Lennar outlining what we thought were the deficiencies in the proposals that they had, and they have 2 weeks to come back and with the corrected information. So that's where it stands. The ball is rolling pretty quickly. The idea is bond counsel would really like to wrap it up. I would like to have it off the agenda at this point. So one way or another, I think we're taking it to a conclusion.
Finally, yeah.
Finally. And Bob, if you haven't spent yours, spend it.
I have. It's all,
Okay.
I have spent it.
You don't think WCI will get a lot more money, or you do think they will?
Well,
They'll get,
they most likely will be, they had asked for 273,000 on one item and 56,000 on another item.
So they're gonna get something.
They'll
Now
get-
it's negotiating.
They'll probably get something, but the one item was taken down in a year ago, over a year ago, to 173, but by just depreciation. So.
And we gotta put current depreciation on, so it'll bring it
And
down to some other.
depreciation on that, and then, on the other one, we hadn't depreciated, the work. The consensus was that we should have, so that's then part of it. There were things that were missing, from the information that they sent us, and so forth, so we've asked them to fill in the blanks.
and what you've spent is what, assuming that they get the maximum amount they're asking for, is that right? Is that how you've done it?
No,
No?
I didn't plan on them getting a nickel, but it's okay, whatever comes out,
Oh, I see.
it comes out. I took it to zero,
Okay.
to the best of my ability,
Yeah.
with Sonia and with the Rex. Now, what we did officially within our financial
Yes,
system is a
yes,
different question.
yes, I understand.
There is a pot of gold, they may not have actually pulled it out yet, but they have enough Rex to cover everything that's there.
There. Okay.
And whatever is plus goes to O2, whatever's minus comes from O2. So we're okay no matter how it comes out.
So now we're just waiting on the outcome of.
But
the
this has been
business.
a glacial task to even get WCI moving when we finally, and I
Yeah.
don't know why they did, but whatever.
Okay.
Well, that was one of the questions we asked.
Yeah.
You know, why?
Man, if you owe me money, I want you to pay me. They don't have that attitude.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions of Nancy on this issue? Okay, GSCDD board meeting, you've got the written reports. Are there any questions about that? A couple of written reports. Okay, Ponds Work Group.
Not in any particular order, but there's going to be a Residents Alliance meeting on January the 30th. And Ponds is going to have a significant chunk of time in order to bring the residents up to speed on all the various things we're doing. And one of the principal elements of this meeting will be to inform everybody of the flood and the actions that took place, future actions, proposals, all that kind of good stuff. So I sent Chris a note this morning. I've asked Tetra Tech to put together the Lee County Master Comprehensive type of the strategy, which includes, of course, the 10-mile canal and 6-mile slough and the interconnects and everything else, to tell the residents what's going on. What did Bonita Springs do? What did the city of Fort Myers do? All the various components, all the stakeholders, to give the residents a broad-based picture, and then, of course, specifically what we're going to do. So, I don't know, did I ask for money on that, how much not to exceed?
Not how much I'd send.
I don't remember.
Ask Andy just to send me a.
But anyway, so that part of it, since it's extra funds and requires previous authorization, I wanted everybody to know. The full ponds group will be at that meeting, of course, we're all invited if, you got the time.
What requires extra funds? You lost me.
To engage Tetra Tech
Oh, okay.
to do this analysis for us.
Oh, okay.
So almost anything we do anymore requires prior authorization, and I'm okay with that, it's just the way it is. So,
So, but you've gotten the
I,
part?
well, he got the letter, we're not gonna have a problem. It's just informational to everybody that we're gonna do that. We have started on the second phase of aeration. They've been doing, installing cables as an outfit, or borings, an outfit called Cabco. I know they're working because they cut about 19 irrigation lines in Tiberio.
That's right. We got that this morning in the president's meeting.
So, and if we did it, and we obviously did,
Yeah.
then our contractor's going to repair it at no cost to us. It just highlights once again, how badly our community is documented for where our utilities are and things. We pay people to come out and stake stuff and say where things are, and you think it's on the right-hand side, and all of a sudden it's on the left. So it's just the way it is. I am happy to report, anyway, based on that, I still think by the 31st of March, this will be completed. The first 7 ponds in Cypress Grove are now included in this, the quote-unquote Track L components. So we'll have everything from Old Pelican and beginning to make our inroads into Cypress Grove. All of the old aerators have been repaired, and that was another monumental task.
Okay,
It took us
so
4
that's
months.
done now.
Everything is done, everything is running.
You've moved them?
No, that is still remains to be done. We got everything running, but we are going to go back and have all of those that were submerged and damaged changed in some way. I don't know if the change is going to be raising them a foot, moving them, whatever. I'm asking the engineering firm to tell me. We have it here, it's a problem, what do you recommend we do? So we do something differently. But I am going to request that everything that's being installed now on 2 is raised a minimum of 8 inches. So that'll just be our baseline. Everything's going to be 8 inches higher. And in all honesty, most of the Cypress Grove communities, they didn't have that much, flooding. So 8 inches should be more than enough. Even on the ground level is probably good enough, but do it now for $10 or do it later for 150. So the downspout projects, we are continuing to make progress on that.
On aerators, may I just ask you one
anything.
question? Are you going to be putting in more, things to make those quieter?
The contractor, Lake Masters, has told us they have, since the last time we did it, a more robust cabinet.
You're right.
So that is going to be the standard in all of the new installations.
Right.
We have 3 communities that are complaining about noise, one in Viadana, which is probably a compressor, not noise, it's probably a bad compressor. And then Colbeckers,
Yep.
we're still going to address that one.
Yep.
So we are going to upgrade every place we get a resident complaint.
Okay.
We go out and look at it, of course, but I mean, anything that has merit, we'll do whatever we have to do to make the resident happy. The downspouts, he is continuing to work on that. Right now, they're in Viadana and in the Camarel neighborhood. We're just about finished in Old Pelican, save John's neighborhood, Portofino. That's the one last biggie, and the contract's let, and we're going to keep rolling on down that pike. Bellagio doesn't have anything where the drainage goes into a pond. All of Bellagio goes to the street. Okay, I might be wrong, but
Like I say, I live
there are
on
homes
a
on
pond, and there's lots of stuff going into that pond.
well, but your rain spouts all
They
vent,
go in the ground.
and they all go to the street. They don't have
Even
any
the
of
ones
them
in the back go to the street.
go to the street. Everything goes to the street on Bellagio. But having said that, and we talked about this at our last ponds meeting, there are a number of homes on Bellagio that it may be better to put them back there. And we're looking at that right now, to whether we should.
Let me offer a comment
Yeah.
on that. Portofino's also were designed to go to the street, every single one of them. But Bellagio and Portofino are 2 of the oldest of the neighborhoods. And over time, because the water got so bad between homes, people had more sod put in, it just built it up, and so it changed the terrain. So instead of all angling toward the street, it started to go back toward the pond.
Okay.
So I would say.
I didn't even know that, but okay.
I'd say Bellagio probably ought to think.
Well, the reason that this one just came up, and this was a specific topic of our last meeting, was, if for no other reason, for consistency in the community. And that's why we're getting a price to do that. But it was not on any of our original plans because of the way that the road, the design was that they're supposed to go forward. But I will report at the next meeting, because by then we'll know. But we're probably going to do that anyway. It just makes sense
Yeah, I mean, ours.
to be consistent.
That's why Paul was so opposed initially, because we were designed to go to the street.
No two communities were built the same, I'll say that too. No two neighborhoods were the same. Whether it's talking about downspouts, whether it's my gutters, every one were done like it's the first time they ever did it. Budget package spreadsheet. Okay, I gave everybody my 2000, it says 16, 17, but it's actually really the 17 fiscal year, 2017 fiscal year. So you can see of our, if you could read all this, and we're talking budget, don't go to downspouts, but just in the budget total, we had a $498,000 budget. Of that, we have identified $219,000 we spent last year. Some of the aeration money that we thought we were going to spend will go into next year, so we're not really that flush. The last column is downspout drainage. We had $989,000 bond fund, and of that, we have spent.
127.
No, I don't think it's high enough. There's more than that, but the bills haven't come in yet. They're starting to come in with some of our new ones. Do I have the November? No, I guess this is not as current as it should be. If you look on page 2, this thing says that the last time I entered it was 9/30/17. Okay, I'm now up to the end of the budget year. So we do have additional funds that we spent. And forgive me, I must have sent the wrong thing over to Diane to copy. But if you look at 2013 series bond fund recs, which is on the lower right-hand column, on the very first page, that's the recs that we submitted and paid for out of bond fund, where we were taking things that historically have come from '02. These were specifically directed to be bond fund.
Just these two items?
Oh, no, it's a whole bunch of, everything under that. Requisition 1, 2, et cetera, all the way down
Oh, okay.
through Rec 24, and I think we're currently on Rec, I don't know, we're in the, I think we're in the 30s. So we track that. And I will have the next one when I come to the next meeting. I thought this was the most current, it's not. Met with the fishing club, and they're very happy with the support that we have provided up till now. They've got some suggestions for additional placement of fishing signs, so they are going to give us a formal report of what they want, give it ponds. I will take it to Joe, or to Terry, and see if we can come to the same balance we had the last time, where we'll buy the signs, and Terry provides for the installation, and then we'll cover the communities in Cypress Grove. And we don't think we have any issues out there right now. We have 2 providers of lake maintenance in the community, pond maintenance. One has Old Pelican, that's Aquagenics. They're on a month-to-month contract with us. And for the Cypress Grove communities, they historically have had lake masters. We are going to continue that relationship until such time as everything is conveyed. And one of the reasons was it was very difficult to determine month to month how many ponds they were contributing, depending on how the conveyance goes. So we're going to move forward, and it also gives us a chance to compare performance between the two. Lake Masters bills based on foot of pond acreage. Aquagenic bills based on gallons in a pond. So it's a different metric. We'll see which is more beneficial to us, and that might influence our decision going in the future. Irma cleanup, we are just about finished with the catch basin cleaning. I won't extend past this month, and we have pulled a lot of debris out of those containers. Palazzo flooding. We had 2 homes in the community that got wet as a result of a pond. We commissioned a survey. The survey said one home was, I believe, 8 inches lower than the home next door, but both were technically correct. But having said that, there is a problem with the right-hand second section of Via Donna.
You're talking,
It's,
you said
Vi-
Palazzo.
yeah,
but you
Via
meant-
Donna.
You meant Via Donna, right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
that's a 70s flub.
Yeah.
If you conceptualize, you look at Via Donna, you're looking towards Palazzo, first section would be the right-hand side, first grouping, which goes up to the cart path. Then the second and third sides are on the left-hand side. And then the fourth section, and the last section where the flooding occurred, is from the cart path over. Something is wrong in the way that was designed, according to Tetra Tech. We don't know if what is wrong is the fact that the control structure out there is 2 feet higher than every place else in the community, which means the water would come up higher in that pond and flood out. They believe, Tetra Tech believes, that the home should have been designed to carry all of the water from the rear of the house to the street. But that's not the way the land is contoured and the way it's laid. RWA at first was very cooperative in working to resolve this. Since that time, they must have talked to Lennar and found out they ain't gonna get any more money, and that cooperation has waned. And now they're saying, we did everything right. I don't know where it's all gonna end up. From the Ponds Committee, one or two things are gonna happen, and maybe both. First and foremost, we are gonna extend the berm. We are gonna take the berm up to the golf cart path, and we're gonna raise it. That should be under $10,000. That won't be that much money to do. The second thing is we're going to change the control structure. Now, me saying that and getting permission to do it are two different things, but we're going to get that control structure lowered. I don't know how that'll take place, but we're going to get it down to where it is on average with the rest of our community. So I will keep you posted on wherever that takes us.
Any thoughts on your plan as to whether this will get resolved before the rainy season?
The berm will,
Very, but not necessarily the control structure.
but not necessarily the control structure. Okay, now Palazzo. We have issues in Palazzo with drainage. We don't understand the issues yet, but the two things we do understand is water came from Bridgetown into Palazzo. That should not happen. And we believe, but we don't have the proof yet, that the conservation area behind Via Donna also accepted water and transferred it into our community, which again would be coming from the Bridgetown area. So we are going to have some more surveyors go out and understand what that conservation area is supposed to look like relative to the Bridgetown side and whether it is built properly or not. Don't know the answer to that yet. We know there was a lot of work done in the Palazzo area at the Bridgetown border with big piping. My granddaughter was down here. I mean, this is 6-foot pipe. This is big stuff. But we haven't found out who did it yet or why it was done. So we got some questions. We don't have any answers yet. So we're still investigating. And that was done about 2 years ago. And I've got photos from it. So I can tell them exactly what date this work was done. But we can't find out who did it. We don't know if it was Lennar, WCI, or Bridgetown. But we got to get that figured out because Palazzo is a mess when it comes to drainage. And that's all I got.
The issue of, talking about Palazzo, the issue with Pond 39 came up again at the president.
It's being done right now. They're putting the aeration in now.
Okay, but they also said there's some kind of a blue
That construction stuff.
construction stuff that is in there or on the shore. Are you familiar with what that?
No, I was out there looking at it not that long ago.
They
I
say
don't
it's
think I
been
saw
there
it.
for 2 or 3 years, it's just,
Oh, maybe I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
We reviewed it with Aquagenics less than a month ago. Maybe I didn't see it. There's a boom, a construction boom.
yeah, it's construction boom, it's just been there
It can come out
forever.
now.
It
It could come out.
silt or something like that.
But now they're working down there again.
Yeah, they're putting a building up.
They're putting.
Well, well, then maybe that's why they put it back.
No, it's not put back, it's the same
Still
old
one.
one still
Well,
there,
they
yeah.
take it out.
When they finish, we took care of the golf course side.
Right.
If you remember, that was nothing but weeds,
Yeah.
and now it's, it looks really, really nice.
Okay.
We're expecting the same thing to happen on the resident side once this last building is constructed. And then their issues should go away totally, because then we'll have good drainage, nice appearance, no weeds, no crap. It'll look like all of our other ponds.
Terry talked about the construction down there today, and she didn't even know for sure. Didn't she say they're permitting 2 buildings right now?
Yes,
But they're
yes.
putting in infrastructure for all 4.
Well, they're
Yeah.
starting infrastructure on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they're doing a
It's
lot
a
of work
mess
Yeah.
down there.
No, I saw that
And
part.
there are at least 2 buildings, you
Yeah.
know, foundations.
But there's only
to work
one,
in.
the only permit sign they've got up is Building 9. But you can see they're starting to work, it looks
Yeah.
like, on a second building.
Oh, they are.
So
But
they're
there's-
getting ready to finish, they're gonna be 10 when they're finished, I guess, and they're
Yeah.
getting ready to finish them all, or some,
That's the
Moving ahead.
impression you get if
Yeah.
you go down there.
Yeah, there's 6 buildings now.
Well, I have a question. A few meetings ago, you've responded that WCI Lennar in New Pelican must put gutters on homes.
That is correct.
That's.
And that is,
On ponds,
huh?
homes on ponds.
Okay, but because I've driven through some of the communities or taken my bike or whatever, it doesn't look like they're all that way right now.
I've checked a number of times, and every one that I've personally looked at, I'm only looking on ponds, I don't look other places.
Okay.
They're being built
but there were
properly.
some that were done without gutters.
If they're not on a pond, then
That's not a
that's not
Well,
required.
and weren't there
Well,
some
but you're
even on?
talking just
We're
Prado.
talking Prado,
Just Prado.
just
you're-
Prado and Pistoia, that's all I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, John, you're
Just
talking,
Prado,
you're
Pistoia.
talking about some of the older Cypress Grove communities,
Yeah, yeah.
which
Matarita.
they built
No,
before
no, no, no,
that rule
no.
was in
The
effect.
only 2 that have to build to the current
Yes,
permit criteria
or,
are Prado
Prado
and
and
Pistoia.
Pistoia.
exactly, so
And
there's.
they have to do it the way we have.
It's got the mix.
Matarita's got, yeah, so there are other
Mixed
communities in Cypress Grove.
Our
that
street.
don't-
Okay,
that-
and we still have not resolved the issue, unless you got new information, of the homes, the drains between the homes. They're supposed to put a bubbler between, Joe Smith and Charlie. There's a bubbler in the front of the house, the middle of the house, and in the rear of the house. We got the front, we got the rear, we don't have the middle. And we said we'd pay for that. And, Lennar was fighting us, but they finally said they'll do it and charge us. We'll pay for every home. Still haven't got that started yet, and I wrote another letter a week ago
Now,
to,
now, is that only for Prado and Pistoia?
yes. It'll bring them up to the standard of everything else
Yeah.
we're doing.
Right,
And,
because that's the way you want to do the
Yeah,
drainage now.
and Dave
in all the other
Caldwell, right,
communities.
and Caldwell asked for that, which was encouraging, that's the first time, but he hasn't answered how he's gonna get it done. And I've had so many meetings with so many people, and they all look at it, they say, we don't need that, and I say, I'm not gonna say whether it's needed or not, but we're willing to pay for it, and you agreed to do it, so do it. We're leaving it at that, it's overkill, but it's what we wanna have. We don't wanna have, as Nancy said, those wet spots between homes. That is unacceptable. So,
Any more questions of Bob? Okay, Gateway meeting attendance schedule.
Is this going to be addressed?
What?
Does this have to be addressed?
Oh, John has brought to my attention this note that went out about, that this relates back to the golf cart thing. And, no, I mean, I think that note.
We covered it.
It's going
Yeah,
on.
I mean, it's
Fine.
going.
Okay, that's just wanted to be sure.
It doesn't have any impact, it doesn't have any impact on what we're doing. We're pushing forward with what we're doing. That states a little bit erroneously, I think, but what the current situation
And
is.
who is this coming from?
That is coming from the GSCD board.
And how is it
was
being
done-
distributed?
It was done, I don't know. It was done, as I understood it, at Bill's
Request.
behest.
Yes.
He
And he
he
got the motion
wanted, he
passed.
wanted a motion, right, to get a letter out.
Right.
And I must admit, I was surprised it took as long to get this. This is obviously something that's been worked on over by Tony.
Well,
It's
I
not
mean,
just a letter.
when the motion was passed, I was
Yeah.
at that meeting and I made the comment, PPAC is not sending that letter out under
No.
our letterhead.
No.
I
Oh, no.
I
Well, no,
said it
no,
would
no,
not
no.
be done.
Yeah,
No.
no, this is,
I
this
sort of
is,
suggested
this-
Tubby should do it.
this is theirs, so, and they have done it. Okay.
Okay.
So, the attendance schedule, and, let me go to, the people who were assigned,
It's in the minutes.
yeah, it's in the minutes.
It's in the minutes that were not
Oh,
approved.
the minutes that were not approved, right.
we didn't have anybody for the 18th, according to my last notes,
18th of December?
January.
18th of January, Ron, yeah, as it said Ron DePonte was not present at today's meeting. However, Mr. Mizzi
gotta
will
sign?
confirm whether he will be attending.
That's right. You weren't here, that's why, but I put a question mark since.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, because I have lots of family that we
You do,
here
okay.
visiting.
Oh, you can bring them, they'll love
And
it.
it's my wife's birthday.
Okay.
And that's
What a
Betty is
treat.
here.
What a treat for her. So we need somebody then.
Yeah, I'm gonna, by the way, Bob, I'm gonna go to the February 1st meeting, because that's a big conveyance issue meeting.
Okay,
Could you do the 18th?
sure. With all the conveyance
You did not
stuff.
have to go to the December meeting.
Well, I go to most all of them when I know they're gonna bring up some
Yeah,
money issues.
yeah, well, I go to a lot of them, too.
But I don't mind leaving early either.
Okay. So, the 18th will be Geppert.
Yep.
First will be Mizzi. Do we have somebody for 15th?
I have you down for the 15th.
Yes. but-
If you want, I'll take it, unless you want to be there.
No,
on the 15th.
no,
Ron's the one.
okay. Okay. February 15th is DePonte. Let's.
March 1st?
March 1st. Do we have a volunteer for March 1st?
I can't do
You,
it.
Nancy can't.
Going
do it.
once, going twice.
John,
I have visitors.
you have visitors that day?
Yeah, my March is a very bad.
Nancy, are you in a position to do it?
Um,
If not,
I probably can. Thursdays are bad days for me, but.
Are they?
occasionally-
Well-
Yeah, but, once in a while, I can change my schedule.
let's put you in tentatively. Okay. Okay, and March 15th. Bad for everybody, I'll take that one.
You speak too quickly, Phil.
Nancy, let me look at my visitor's schedule.
Yeah.
They may not be coming on the first, that first Thursday is March 1.
March 1.
Yeah.
Let me check it out.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And if I can work
Tentatively,
with you and
tentatively,
she
this
can
is
have
a
yours.
schedule, we do a lot of swapping around, but we
Okay.
just want to have at least somebody assigned to go.
March and April, I get so many visitors, it's driving me
Okay.
nuts.
And by then, maybe I can cover the 15th. We'll see.
Okay, yeah, okay. Let's see how we're doing by then. This is a tentative schedule then. Okay, we're on to committee member requests. and
I had a
updates.
note for myself to go
Yeah.
to a Gail Anthony meeting on Tuesday.
Yes,
Where did they hold that?
in the firehouse down on.
I went, not on Tree Line?
But it's
Yeah.
not on Tuesday.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Because I was gonna say, they weren't there Tuesday.
Well, and it's not. And it's not until next Wednesday. Did you go,
Next
yes,
Wednesday.
did you go?
I
this-
went, yeah, for the 9th.
No, it's next Wednesday.
It's next Wednesday.
From
And it's,
Saturday.
but it's still a Tree Line, or is it another one?
No,
Tree line.
no, it's
Tree
it's
line.
the
It's there,
same
it's 4
place.
o'clock.
Same place.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad I asked that.
Yeah.
Wednesday for Gail Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a tennis team at 2, okay. Okay.
And so I had a question of that sort too. Chris, the meeting on the water in Gateway is on the 16th.
The odor.
But what time? Do you know?
I'd have to go check.
Okay. I'll get it from you.
I have 1:30 for Magnolia Room.
1:30, Magnolia Room?
That's what I've got.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they invited a few other HOAs also.
Yes, they did, apparently. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I think it's now an open meeting.
Magnolia Room, it's gonna have room for a lot of people.
Yep.
If I may make a comment.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of weeks, we continue to work on this issue.
Yep.
Brought up some more information from Manatee County, their utility department's having the same problem. And they basically were pointing fingers back at plumbing fixtures within the house. P-traps and a poly hose specifically is causes of the odor, and a couple of residents tried the baking soda vinegar down the drain routine and said it took care of it. And another fellow, as I understand, followed it this past week and changed that piece of poly hose that's supposedly the culprit. And he said after he changed the hose, it went away. So we have more updated information.
Is there something different, and I know very little about it and want to know even less than I know. But we don't have a problem at all with the city of Fort Myers water. Is there something inherently in the delivery system that's different?
Well, one
Probably
thing that
different
we've been looking
design
at
of
too
the-
is, building materials are different. They don't
Building
hard-
materials.
I think it is the building material.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't- They don't hard pipe in, and it's not a simple solution because they aren't using the PVC, and part of where that section of hose is coming from the hard pumping piping up to the faucet. And what it's really is happening is you're basically breeding a bacteria in there that's sulfur reducing. And it has a slime bacteria with it that protects it from chlorine, so if you're out of town, or as I said, they build the house, they charge the system, and 6 months later, someone moves in, and all that water stagnates.
Well, see, it's not unusual for Pelican residents to have their house empty 6 months.
That's right.
It's more normal than
That's
abnormal.
for a lot
Yeah.
of- lot
That's
of
why
homes, It's still normal.
why isn't it the old, no, but if you're saying
Yeah,
it's
well,
just the
Construction
basic.
told me
You-
of
But
those
you're saying
areas
they
where the
use
problem
different
exists.
construction
Different
materials?
construction.
Well, it's all polytubing now.
Oh, I see, and it wasn't in the old,
No.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the construction methods are different, and maybe, we've asked Lennar if they could start flushing their homes a few times, if they're gonna
Right.
leave them sit for a few months like that. And
Hey,
some
so
people,
during the
their house
construction
sitters-
process.
Should we change the permit criteria manual to specify the better actor of the two?
Well, we could, but the only problem is everything's been permitted.
Well, yeah, it won't help us, but I mean, for future communities, why go through the learning curve all over? I would,
Well, I think the future communities are all done.
all in Gateway, everything's permitted?
Permitted,
Oh,
platted.
Okay, never mind.
We have a couple small areas, 8 acres down near West Links and Commerce, where the townhomes are, but they're coming in because they're gonna put more townhomes in that area. But, again, it's complicated, but, we're gonna post all this stuff and we'll hand it.
Well, where are your Kevlar?
Hmm?
Where are your Kevlar for this
Well,
meeting?
I'll say one thing, Mr. Gephardt, we come in there and treat people with consideration and respect, and I told the staff, if they wanna gang up and start running their mouth, to turn around and walk out the door.
All right.
Because, well, that's the way it is, I don't put up with it either, if someone wants to be rude and inconsiderate, I'll do the same thing and walk out the door. But they all have this simple answer, it's Gateway's water. And what I'm showing you is the facts are, it's the plumbing fixtures in those homes, not our water. We do have some responsibility to maintain a chlorine residual, and we found a valve that was shut off that had a partial dead end, but the odor complaints were coming from the other side of the street, not where the valve is.
Does the entire system circulate? Is there water running through these systems entirely? I'm talking about the basic pipe. So the pipe doesn't dead end somewhere. Every home dead ends, but a
Well,
piping
there's a
system.
couple dead ends in the system that are short, where they didn't link the pipe, but one of the problems is you take Prado, you have 377 units in Prado, we got 8 houses there. You have 8 houses using a water line that's sized for
Yeah, okay.
177 homes. We're out there 2 times a week now, flushing 10 to 20,000 gallons of water at a time just to maintain.
Does the
pressure.
Prado system dead end, or is that a circulating system?
Circulates. But, and you have water for 377 and only 7 homes are up or using that, utility will typically turn a tank over a clear line in 3 to 5 days to maintain freshness. And that's part of the problem why we're flushing it, keeping that chlorine residual up, because 7 houses worth, and you get that in Casella with the fourplexes, they'd have one person move in, nobody in the other 3 units, that water's just sitting, it's all the same line going in. So there's a lot of,
Okay.
a lot of contributing factors, but pointing the finger at us, and that's why the health department's been out there in Lee County, and they're like, A, we don't go inside homes, B, there's not a problem with the water. Once it goes through that meter, it's not really my problem, but we've been doing the investigation and going into homes and taking bacteria tests, and that's what I found.
Well, we're doing it the right way now. We're not dealing opinions. Now we're dealing with the data, and that's the best way to get a
Yeah,
result.
and we continue to investigate and pull samples.
But if you think the golf cart and bicycle path is emotional, wait till we get to this one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had heard that there are a few people who have canceled contracts who were going to move in there, heard about this problem. They were gonna move from other other Pelican
Yeah,
communities.
I had not heard that. I don't
in
doubt
there,
it.
But
Well,
they're,
if that's accurate, you would think Lennar would be
You would
motivated to
think-
change some
you
of
would
their
think so. Yep.
materials.
I was
Yeah.
told the same thing, that people came down with a moving truck and they walked into the house and they said, I'm gonna put up for sale. I'm just gonna put
Wow.
my stuff in the truck and go somewhere else.
yeah.
Now, that should get someone's attention.
I would hope.
But
You would
again,
think.
when you have a situation where 90% of those complaints, it's the rear master bathroom sink, one sink. I asked the people, smell anywhere else, laundry room, guest bath, in your kitchen, I'm in the kitchen, no, it's only in that sink and it's your water. I'm like, we don't run socket lines in every fixture in your house. But like I said, people like to
Yeah.
have the simple point fingers and
Yeah.
plain, but the issue's a lot more complicated.
Mhm.
And it is an aesthetic.
Tough dealing with
that smell.
consumers.
The water is perfectly fine to drink standards, I pulled tests out of it, even additional ones at the county, but, you get that little whiff of sulfur, and it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
It sits around for a while.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee members?
I have one more comment, I'll
Yes.
make it quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing to consider, and we'll look into it with the cleaning of those catch basins, and every time we've been out, they'll get environmental people involved, but they're gonna wanna know the volume of material that was collected and how you disposed of it, and where it went. Meaning
Okay.
tickets from a landfill,
I'll ask Brad if he's got that, because I know he's collecting it.
yeah.
I'm not sure where he went with
But
it.
some of that stuff, if you say it's pumped back out there.
Well, after
you don't
Mike's
open
review,
that
we,
can.
we started containing it from then on
Oh,
out.
yeah, I understand.
But I don't know what he did with it.
Yeah, well,
But that's gonna come up, and that's gonna be a stumbling block if he doesn't have tickets to where he disposed of it. then
Well, that might be a reason for them to reject it, but there shouldn't be a reason for us to ask for it.
Well, they'll ask questions about.
They may not, they may just say, okay, you never
No,
know.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
Bob knows where it went.
Okay.
when they have formulas for tree diameters and amount of dirt that they're gonna pay
Yes,
for to
yes.
replace a root ball.
I know, wow.
And when we went out and did some of the other, like environmentally related and on-tech work, they brought an environmental team. And those guys were like people from the EPA. I mean, they were asking questions and tickets to the landfill, where did this debris go if you burned it, where did the ash go?
Didn't they
if you
realize
burned it?
this administration's cutting back on the EPA?
No.
No, they're more like that, but it's rigorous, and we're meeting with a guy, he's been with us, he comes every Wednesday, and he's like the filter. So that anything gets kicked up, it's already met the standard.
Okay. Yeah, but we do have the prior storm inspections. We got that. That was all finished in June. 30% random, but it's still, and then we certainly know.
Because they're gonna ask questions about the contract, how you bid it, your bidding procedures, where was it competitively bid? They're gonna, they get very in-depth and ask a lot of questions. They wanna see all your quotes, they wanna see all your bids.
We didn't do quotes. An emergency, we didn't do quotes because it was an emergency condition. We had a hurricane, we reacted to that. So we had a regular provider, we have a regular provider, and that's who we engaged.
We'll put the card on the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes nothing to ask.
Yeah.
May not get it,
There's nothing to lose.
nothing to lose.
Yeah, okay.
But I want to have the district support behind the request rather than,
It's all facts, here's the receipts.
you got it. That part's easy.
Here's what we paid.
Okay. Committee member requests? Audience comments?
Yeah, can somebody give me a ride home?
Oh, this was your walking day.
I'll never make it.
How'd you get here?
My wife dropped me off.
Give her a call.
Someone to find his own way home.
Well, I can call her.
We'll get you home.
I'll get you home, Joe.
Motion to
Do you live in Pelican?
I'll second.
No, he's in
All in
Carina.
favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, he's out on Cypress Grove. We don't even like those
It
people.
is 4:17, and the meeting is adjourned. We started at 2 o'clock.
It's a little gift